degrees, no chance of rain, slightly cloudy skies. It doesn't get any better than this, Johnny said. We talked to Bobby Labonte earlier in the weekend, and we asked him, have you planned out a strategy for this race?
I'm looking for a position to get in the line and just follow the leader all day if that's what it takes. You know, I've watched a lot of them on TV. I've been down here and watched them. You know, with the restrictor plates, that's basically what you have to do. And, you know, if I can follow whoever and just ride comfortable and stay out of trouble, then that's what we'll do.
I thought it was great earlier. We were discussing that the first time Bobby Labonte had been here and the only time was in a go-kart. And Bob told me, yeah, but the problem there is they turn left right as you go across the start-finish line. We hope you remember to stay straight. Well, he has, folks. He's staying straight.
And now we have a single file effort once again. Led by Dale Jarrett, it includes Labonte, Sterling Marlin, Dick Trickle, Harry Gant, Greg Sachs, who, as Johnny mentioned, has been doing a lot of stand-in driving this weekend. He may be the busiest driver at Daytona. Tom Cruise is here filming a movie to be called Days of Thunder that'll be in your theaters later this summer, we understand. But when they need somebody to get in and drive for Tom Cruise, Greg Sachs has been doing it.
Yeah, and another thing, Greg Sachs is developing a close relationship with Rick Hendricks, who's in charge of this whole thing. He keeps doing this kind of job for Rick Hendricks. Rick Hendricks has nothing, but he's got a lot of problems, but money's not one of them, and he's liable to just put him in another car.
Harry Gant going backwards there in the number 7 car to the left of your screen. I think Harry's got a problem in that 7-car draft. He's the tail ender now, and everybody just drove around him.
Harry Gant's been loose, but Harry Gant has a philosophy a lot like Darrell Waltrip. He loves to be at the tail end of the lead draft, so it gives him a little more time if something happens in front of him. And I think he's at a spot he can hold on, but he'd rather not be in the middle getting pushed around and your rear wheels being pulled off the track.
Okay, I was talking to Richard Childress. They've got a problem. Dale has just called in. The clutch is slipping on the car, and that's a good indication it's grease I'm looking at here. It is out of the front of the transmission. It's leaking on it. I was just telling Richard, we've done it before and shot a fire extinguisher up in there, and they're thinking about doing that to clean the plates off of the clutch and keep going.
Well, I would explain that big smoky burnout when Dale was leaving the pits. He couldn't get the car in gear, and he was spinning his wheels, perhaps. Transmission problems for the number 3 of Dale Earnhardt. He's had some hard luck. A year ago at this race, he never even made the first green flag. He had a huge end-over-end spinning crash on the infield during practice. Back on the lead now. They are just about to pass Earnhardt. The 32 of Dale Jarrett, followed by Bobby Labonte and the rest of that pack. They will put Earnhardt a lap down. Around the east end of this 2.5-mile racetrack. Love that sound. That 7-car draft with the number 7 of Harry Gant at the back contains all of the leaders.
And nobody wants to be behind Earnhardt because he's throwing fluid out and it'll get on their windshield. And boy, you can't see a lick when you pour oil or grease on your windshield, and it really hurts.
And so Dale Earnhardt fades into the background. Tough break for he, but Dale Jarrett is doing just fine up front. Speedway, it looks as though Dick Trickle, a 48-year-old grandfather of 2 from Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, blew the right front corner on that car, the tire. Watch the car to the right of your screen. The 92 right alongside Sterling Marlin is Trickle. The rear end gets a little sideways, then they make contact. Well, perhaps he didn't blow the tire. They just got together. Marlin gets sandwiched into the wall. Yeah, lags the back of Trickle's car, and he takes a hard lick.
He flat did hit it hard.
Marlin, off to the right of your screen, is now spinning across the infield grass, while Dick Trickle got it slowed down and parked just beyond the pit exit. There you see Sterling Marlin. It was just fine after what must have been a real white-knuckle moment coming off turn 4.
It looked like Dick just came in there a little too hard, and the rear end went around on him, and the racetrack's real slick. We've talked about that earlier. The tires are hard. Trickle's out of the race car.
Dick Trickle, a man who has won more than 1,000 short track features in his career. Sort of like Pete Rose, who was in so many winning baseball games. Trickle has won more races than most guys have been in races.
Earnhardt's in right now. They're putting tires on the car, but they're going to stop and take a look and see if they can find that problem with the car right now. They're shooting some more fluid up under the bell housing. It's in that particular area. They're lucky to get this caution flag, but they're not concerned about these tires. They're going to put some oil in the car right now. They're seeing if they can find what's wrong there. Yeah, well, Childers was down here in the pits also. His concern's not if they can fix the clutch. He doesn't want this car to do something crazy and Dale get in the wall. He's got a lot riding on 500, and he's really concerned about his driver right now.
You can see the black streak up the Goodwrench written across the back of that Chevrolet. There is something definitely burning in the back of Dale Earnhardt's car. Let's see with that back clutch how he gets out.
The clutch is fixed.
He gets away just fine, and that explains it. Thank you, Neil. That is the third caution flag, second caused by a wreck. We'll give you another look at the granddaddy that really got us off to a whopping start here in the Goodies 300. Early in the race on lap 14, a tremendous crash down in turn 3. Let's review it again. Watch the left side of your screen. The black and orange car of Brad Teague gets up against the 32 of Dale Jarrett. Now, we don't know if they made contact or if Brad just gets air under the car, gets a little sideways. That's all it took. The black 17 of Darrell Waltrip, the pole sitter for this race, right behind, just catches the back of that car. He slides up into the front of Kenny Schrader, 52. Meanwhile, Teague is collecting everybody in the draft behind those cars. Subsequently, 11 cars involved. A total of 13 knocked out of the race in this one incident alone, including many of the front runners, Tommy Ellis, Jack Ingram, Kyle Petty, et al.
Well, it's amazing. Darrell caught him by an inch or so. If Darrell had been able to miss him, he would have not knocked him back up into the middle of everyone.
Now you're back catching current action. There goes the car of Dick Trickle, and we'll be back to Daytona for another green. Back at Daytona, the pace car is off. The green flag waves once again, and we are underway. Dale Jarrett on the point. Right behind him, Greg Sachs, Harry Gant, Bobby Labonte, and Ernie Irvan fill out the top 5 as the cars shuffle them up. That's Dale Jarrett out front. Behind him, the number 8 of Bobby Hamilton. I think a lot of folks figured that Hamilton, runner-up to Kenny Wallace and the Rookie of the Year points last year, would be a factor in this race. He's now a lap down. Behind him, the number 3 is Dale Earnhardt. I can't believe I said tough Frankie T earlier. It has been a rough afternoon, apparently leaking something out of that Chevrolet. Earnhardt is at least 1 lap down. And Dale Jarrett, with those lap cars between him and the rest of the pack, has got room to move.
Well, Bobby Hamilton caught a break there because Earnhardt pulled right up behind him and pushed him. Now Earnhardt's going to dust him and jump right in behind Dale. But he did catch a good car so he could get right in line and get the draft, so maybe he can hold on there.
The green number 46, that is Greg Sachs. He's going to want to get around Hamilton as quickly as he can and not let Dale Jarrett get away from him. Now the draft closes up once again. Behind Sachs is Harry Gant. Behind Gant, Bobby Labonte. Onto the back stretch they go, getting up to full speed, maybe touching 200 miles an hour on the long back straight at Daytona. Darrell Waltrip led qualifying at just under 189 miles an hour.
I love the sponsorship on that car, Crunch, and Earnhardt's being right behind him. And that, for some reason, that would scare me if my sponsorship was Crunch, and that's Earnhardt's name is Crunch, and, you know, he may be offended, so I don't know, Dale. Watch out. He's liable to try to crunch you.
I talked to Dale Jarrett's crew chief, John Irvin, and asked him if he could go the rest of the way on gas. He said they had to stop one more time. I came here to Harry Gant's crew, which you're looking at. They say they can make it. It's going to be close, though.
Thank you, Steve Burns, sharing duty with Neil Bonnet down there in the pit lane in this Goodies 300. There is the 46 of Greg Sachs, movie star to be when the movie Days of Thunder premieres later this summer, starring Tom Cruise. He's been putting in a lot of miles in the car for the leading actor. Look at that hood wobble up and down in the airflow. Tremendous stresses on these cars. This is a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, winner of more Winston Cup races in the last decade than any other model.
Bobby Labonte jumping under Harry Gant. You can see Harry Gant's car is getting a little loose going up, and Bobby Labonte's been able to jump under him. But I'm telling you, Bobby Labonte and Greg Sachs have also driven flawless races, and this is really a shock. But Bobby Labonte is scaring me because he's supposed to start, okay, we've seen people flash in here and do this before, but he's hanging in there with these guys. He could win this race.
Bobby Labonte right behind Sachs, who won the Pepsi 400 here at Daytona a few years ago, surprised everybody, driving a research and development car with Gary Nelson as his crew chief. Earnhardt looks to have a little bit more horsepower once again. And Dale Jarrett gets nudged up the racetrack by Greg Sachs. Bobby Labonte's going to take advantage down low in the red and black number 44.
Okay, and you notice there, the two cars were able to push him up the track and go under, but Bobby didn't have enough to go with, so Dale was able to jump back in. We've got a caution. Debris on the racetrack. Everybody will get a chance to catch back up.
And this will solve the problem Steve Byrne referred to earlier. Guys that were close on gas will now have a chance to fill up. There is Greg Sachs. Interesting to watch him driving for Twine Earnhardt. That is the Monte Carlo. Earnhardt is in the new Chevy Lumina model. It used to be that this was a late model stock car series, but now the Luminas are legal. It's a current model series.
And everybody's wondering about this exotic paint job, and with City written on it, that is the movie car that you will see in the Tom Cruise movie. That's the car that Tom Cruise will be driving.
There is your attrition, Brad Teague, who ignited that huge crash, took out Tommy Houston, Ed Barrier, Jack Ingram, Ron Cooper, Steve Grissom, and a host of others. Ellis Jenkins, Strickland, McLaughlin, Kyle Petty, Michael Waltrip, all involved in that crash, as was Jack Sprague. Darrell Waltrip also in it. Schrader also in it. Jeff Purvis suffered injuries to his race car that eventually knocked him out. Sterling Marlin and Dick Trickle, the most recent to drop out after getting together coming off of turn 4. Now, by passing that lead train, Dale Earnhardt has gotten himself back on the lead lap, so we may not have heard the end of old Dale at this point.
My man Neil Bonnet, he's one of the smartest people in motorsports, and this is usually when he would come up with a real clever statement for me. Help me out, Neil.
I'll step in here, Johnny. 70 laps complete of 120.
He's my man, and he let me down.
I'm trying to talk, and I wasn't hooked up there, but there's nothing clever about the fact that that little black race car just slid back in the lead lap. And on that last caution, it was kind of overlooked, but he got that problem straightened out. They've got the leak stopped, and it looks like he's going to be a factor in this race again.
That's what I always say when I can't think of anything, Neil, is that my microphone wasn't working. You saw Greg Sachs make his stop with his gaily attired crew. Here comes Dale Earnhardt in, and I tell you what, we're going to keep an eye on him. I don't think Earnhardt is out of this by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't want you to ever use that word again here in stock car racing.
I won't.
Okay.
After the race, you tell me what one it was.
The gaily attired crew. I mean, these guys are best buddies. We are going to go for it now.
Dale Earnhardt getting back into it here at the Goody 300. Twice the winner before. He is not about to let go of this one, folks. Your leader remains Dale Jarrett. Bobby Labonte now moves into second. Harry Gant is in third position. There you take a look at Greg Sachs, who will come back into the top 5, but Jarrett remains your leader. We'll be right back. Right they come. Right behind Earnhardt is the number 2 of L.D. Ottinger, a 2-time series champion who'd love to win this race. He's seen some lean years recently. Let's get down to the pit lane for a comment from Steve Byrne.
Bob, I'm in Bobby Labonte's pit. His father, Bob, is the crew chief. Bob, do you think there's still a problem with the 3-car?
Well, it seems like he's still pouring little rear end grease out or something. When you run close to him, you get oil all over your windshield.
Is Bobby happy with the way the car is running currently?
Yeah, he said he's a little bit loose, but he's not bad.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, a little bit loose is the way you want to run at Daytona, the drivers will tell you. A track that's been here since 1959, seen a lot of great races and a lot of racing miles. Down the short chute to the start-finish line they come once again. The bright green and yellow car is Greg Sachs, but he's got a lot of hardware in front of him.
He just led his first lap at Daytona. He just got by him to start-finish line. Great job for the kid.
Bobby Labonte. And in case you're confused by the lead changes, you are only scored as the lap leader at the start-finish line. You can pass and repass 6 times elsewhere on a racetrack when you want, but the man who is on the point when you cross the start-finish gets credit for leading the whole lap. And many dollars lay within Busch Grand National Racing. There is Ernie Irvan on the outside, underneath the 32 of Dale Jarrett. They're going to go side by side. Here's where we've had all the action this afternoon, out of turn 3 and on to 4. They're going to go side by side. That's going to make it tough to catch the 2 guys up front. The red number 44 of Bobby Labonte and the 25 of Jimmy Hensley.
Jimmy Hensley's been up there all day also, and these guys are working together, and these are really 2 surprises.
4 wide scramble behind them. At the top of your screen is Ernie Irvan. At the bottom is Dale Jarrett. Behind them, the 46 of Greg Sachs.
Greg Sachs is trying to make the difference up. Earnhardt set that up, but going 3 wide. Here he comes. So if they'll continue to run 2 wide, 3 wide like that, they're going to give a breakaway to the top front 2 cars.
It is Labonte now by about 2 car lengths over Hensley, and then a big gap back to this group. Dale Jarrett ekes out a slight lead over Ernie Irvan as they come down to the stripe again.
It appears to me that everyone's lined up behind Ernie, so try to leave him out.
We talked to Ernie Irvan, and we asked him, since you're a world-class driver, do you have any advantage because you have more experience with drafting?
We learn a lot more about drafting in the Winston Cup ranks than we do in the Busch ranks. They get 1 race a year to do this, and the Winston Cup guys get 4. So it's naturally you're going to learn more about it, and that's what's going to happen at the end of the race is who can draft the best and stay in the lead, and you know, maybe draft that back straight away and take the lead.
Ernie Irvan from Modesto, California. It's a long haul for this guy. Behind him, one of the cars that suffered damage in the earlier crash. That's L.D. Ottinger's car, missing bodywork in the front left corner. Back up on point. Bobby Labonte leads. I think that's the 63 of Chuck Bound with nothing at all covering up the engine in front. He was also involved in that big schmozzle earlier. Take a look at these aerodynamics, folks.
There's your brick you were talking about. There's just nothing there, but again, it proves how important these points are. Did you see how close those cars went 3 wide?
Woo! Chuck Bound from Portland, Oregon, who has raced from coast to coast, including up in New England. He is going to have a long afternoon here at Daytona. We'll be right back. 80 laps now in the books at the 32nd Goodies 300 at Daytona International Speedway. 40 laps remain of this great 2.5-mile super speedway. Your leader is Bobby Labonte, who may be playing this race just right in his first ever appearance. But behind him, all of those cars are running for position. Jimmy Hensley, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt with a masterful pit strategy and some good, hard North Carolina country stock car driving has come from a lap down. He runs 4th. Greg Sachs is 5th, followed by Harry Gant, Ernie Irvan, Elton Sawyer, Robert Presley, Joe Nemechek, L.D. Ottinger, Jeff Burton, and Dana Patterson.
We heard earlier that the Dale Jarrett team felt like Daytona owed them one. If you remember last year, Dale Jarrett was real close to winning this race. He had contact coming out of turn 4, lost it right at the end of the race, and I think that's what they're trying to say is, hey, we ran good all last year at this event. They seem to be on the same kind of scale this year.
It is now, once again, a 6-car train up front. Labonte has been hauled in along with Hensley, and it's anybody's race. Gotta wonder about a guy in his first time in a 300-miler on these high banks. With all of that talent and all of those ponies behind him, he's just got to be squeezing the juice out of that steering wheel, I would imagine. Even when your bloodlines do come through the Labonte family.
Well, you can't explain it. Last time he was at Daytona, he was in a go-kart. And now he comes out here running that good. Is he trying to say that it's not this tough to get around this place? This is one of the hardest racetracks in the country to get around at speed. And it just showing the boys got a lot of natural ability and a lot of coordination, a lot of good coaching, and a real good race car and motor program.
6 cars with a shot as the laps run down. 38 laps to go. There is young Bobby Labonte.
He's better looking than Terry, I think.
Jimmy Hensley in the 25 car with a few more miles under his belt. Right behind them, Dale Jarrett. Each of these cars has led at some point today. Dale Earnhardt in the 3-car in 4th position has also led, as has Greg Sachs in 5th and Harry Gant in 6th.
I'd love to ask Neil Bonnet a question thinking about Bobby Labonte here. Neil, the first time you ever came to Daytona, what did it feel like when you hit at this place, and did you lead the race most of the way?
I was very fortunate, just like Bobby Labonte's got Terry working with him. When I came down the first time, I had Bobby Allison working with me, and he said it's simple. You just go out there and hold the throttle wide open. But he didn't tell me about these turns on the end of the straightaway. The racetrack almost defies the fact that you can go around there, and once you master the fact that you can hold it wide open, then you just got about 40 guys you got to deal with beating and banging on all sides of it. And I did take the lead, but I also showed them how to turn the thing around backwards down the back straightaway, so I didn't pay a whole lot of attention the first time.
Well, you've come along pretty good, and I'm proud of you.
Well, Bobby's aiming a little bit straighter than I did the first time.
We've got a pass for the lead as Dale Jarrett and the number 32 Nestle's Crunch Pontiac goes right underneath Bobby Labonte's Oldsmobile. Labonte may have wanted for that to happen. He wanted to follow in this field, and anybody who has seen a slingshot off of turn 4 at Daytona will tell you when you get down to the late laps, you don't want to be on point necessarily.
Well, again, I think it's smart for Bobby to follow because he's trying to experiment with lines. He's never done it before, and he's out there in an educational program. He knew that going in, and I think he's driving a real smart race.
Talk about on-the-job training. Dale Jarrett hoping to win his second career Busch Grand National race. Dale, along with Tommy Houston, who is now out of this event, one of the drivers who had run every Busch Grand National race since the series was founded in 1982. Dale then got himself a Winston Cup ride and stepped away for a few events. Now he finds him back as a series regular. Back at the Goodies 300 on Prime Network, Bob Varsha, Johnny Hayes, Steve Burns, and Neil Bonnet with you, looking down from on high from the Goodyear blimp. And we thank the good folks at Goodyear for the use of our floating camera platform. There you see it high above Daytona International Speedway. Chamber of Commerce weather here in Daytona. Really a beautiful day, great day for racing, as it has been for the last week. There is your leader. Excuse me, Johnny.
Just look at that shot from the blimp. It really is the only way you can get a camera to get that kind of position. I mean, we're so lucky to have those kind of shots because it's like looking out of the airplane when you land over there at the airport. We get to watch it consistently, but you can really get a different view of the racetrack and the car. See how they all change grooves there? They dive down to the bottom, go up the banking, just like a train. We're watching the train. See, the one car goes high, come underneath, perfect shot. Thank you, Goodyear.
Built on 450 acres, this huge racetrack. It's hard to believe and hard to express just how far away these race cars get when you consider that they're lapping at about 48 seconds. Your leader, Dale Jarrett, 184.9 miles an hour that last lap.
One of my favorite shots from the blimp was with the lake in the background. Reminds me of the great story with Tom Pistone. The first race he ever ran here, he ran off into the lake. So they pulled him out of the lake and everything. Second race he ever ran at the Daytona 500, he wore a life jacket the entire race. I think that's the only person that's ever worn a life jacket at the Daytona 500 was Tom Pistone. One of the great stories in racing.
The nose guard must have cost more than those sunglasses. Down to the line they come, closing up some. Jarrett, Labonte, Hensley, Dale Earnhardt, Greg Saxon, Harry Gant. There's the 7 of Handsome Harry, also known as Hard Luck Harry Gant. Found some dry times on the Winston Cup circuit for a number of years, but has done well here in Busch Grand National racing. You mentioned a couple of years ago, Johnny, he won 5 races. We should point out he won 5 of the last 7 races that season. Everybody said, wow, Harry Gant is back. He also picked up a couple of events last year and some poles to go with it.
Harry uses a lot of the Darrell Waltrip driving style, approaches it in a very intelligent way and say, hey, let's save this car to the end. I'll ride back here where it's comfortable. So you never know if Harry's showing you everything he has. He may just be sitting back there drafting. You remember we talked earlier about gas mileage and that sort of thing, and maybe he's using that as a factor.
There you see Harry Gant down across the line, running at the very back of this chain of cars. 6 cars in it. Harry is 6th and content to run at that point. They should be able to go the rest of the way on this load of fuel. Now in this pack of cars, look for the number 87. We talked about Bobby Labonte being a young guy. The 3rd car in line there is Joe Nemechek from Mulberry, Florida. A year ago, Joe Nemechek went running on the short track All-Pro Series and won it, both Rookie of the Year and the Series Championship. He's out here now in his first